And joining us live in studios in Midrand is a political analyst, Tshepo Kgadima, who joins us live to discuss this a little bit further. Very good morning to you. Thanks so much for joining us here on Morning Prime.
Morning, good to be here.
Firstly, what do you make of the formal charges laid against Helen Zille by the DA's Federal Executive Committee?
Look, in my view, it is political pragmatism. Political pragmatism in that there has been pressure that has been applied at the time and upon the Democratic Alliance leadership, questioning by many the standing of Mmusi Maimane as the leader, that is he the real leader, or is he effectively a glorified clerk, or is he a leader with power? So that pressure that has been applied and putting a question mark, it came at an inopportune time when the Democratic Alliance, together with other political parties, are trying, and this other mission impossible, of bringing about a motion of no confidence against President Zuma. And that therefore seemed to be impeding the progress they would make in that regard. And I think they needed to then have a symbolic gesture that they disapprove of the utterances, the conduct, the posture of Helen Zille, and effectively, in order to appeal to the majority of South Africans who do not necessarily agree with Helen Zille's utterances, therefore to appease them, this has been that. But I'm saying it's symbolic, effectively pragmatism to try and regain what would have been lost ground for delaying to act. But the fact that she's still in position, she's still Premier of Western Cape, it should tell you everything else, that out of this really is more symbolism. Going forward, I can't see them being able to take any harsher action. And we have to bear in mind that Diane Kohler-Barnard, whose crime was to have reposted, effectively republished, what Paul Kerr had said in a Facebook post. Again, similar utterances, similar circumstances, where it was praising of a more even recent history of our country, which is totally a disgraceful past, that she not only was fined 20,000 rand, but also she was demoted from having been the shadow minister of police to now just being effectively a backbencher in parliament on the benches of the opposition, the Democratic Alliance. So would the same thing happen to Helen Zille? I can't see it.
Yeah. So in your opinion, you talk about this pressure applied, these delaying tactics being taken by Mmusi Maimane. Do you believe that the DA has gone about the situation in the correct or wrong manner here?
In the realm of politics, you do that which can give an impression that you are doing something. And I think that's really what the Democratic Alliance is doing, to say, listen, we thinking we'll have a slap on the wrist as far as this conduct is concerned. Is the Democratic Alliance acting any different from any other political party, including the ANC? The answer is no. I think the others that would be critical of the ANC for having not taken action, stern action against certain people, and sometimes having been symbolic in the manner that they approached it. And it's the same thing here, because that's really, that is, par for the courses as far as politics are concerned. You got to look at what is it that I can do to still reinforce that I am a party that cares, I'm a party that is for everybody else. But at the same time, you have to bear in mind is that without Helen Zille, the Democratic Alliance cannot actually be a force to be reckoned with. If anything, the march yesterday told us everything. It told us that the Democratic Alliance is still not there in the mass appeal, and the majority of the people who would be blacks and Africans in general are not necessarily going for the Democratic Alliance's style of politics or ideology, politically that is. And we saw yesterday was effectively an EFF march supported by everybody else. That's really what it was. And that can tell you many things, that if you were to deal harshly, sternly, and decisively with Helen Zille's conduct, you risk losing the mass support that you have, the minimal mass support, if there is such a thing. Because the number of the typical DA voter has not been increasing at the extent. What we have seen, apathy, against the mainstream politics of the African National Congress has led to the impression that the Democratic Alliance has grown, when actually its growth is directly correlated with the demise of the Nationalist Party. Had the Nationalist Party not demised, the Democratic Alliance would not have been the party that it is. In fact, it would have still been probably the Democratic Party as it was. So, but that growth and that mass appeal from with the demise of the Nationalist Party, people moving across to the Democratic Alliance, is directly correlated to the presence of Helen Zille. So if you are to go and deal decisively against Helen Zille, you risk losing your core voter base, and therefore you will not be a player of any significance come 2019. In fact, if anything, Freedom Front Plus would be the one that emerges. So I'm not surprised that the Democratic Alliance is mollycoddling this situation and treating Helen Zille with kid gloves, because she is a force to be reckoned with, whether we like it or we don't like it, but that's politics.
Now, lastly, before we let you go, talking about what's in store for Helen Zille now after these formal charges have been laid, what comes next? There's a disciplinary hearing. Talk us through the process.
Yeah, look, the disciplinary process that's going to be there, there's going to be a defense, but I can't see them being able to take any more harsher action than that. I think to now take a decision to delay, to press charges and to hold a disciplinary hearing, it comes after, it's almost a month since the utterances by Helen Zille were made. So the question that they have not answered as the Democratic Alliance, and is that what constrained them over a period of a month? And in fact, we saw an unrepentant Helen Zille in the legislature in Western Cape continuing to justify herself in terms of the utterances and giving a conditional apology. They say never, you must never give an excuse if you are apologizing. But effectively, there was an excuse for her conduct and trying to justify what was unjustifiable. And then it took them this long to now come to this. It can only be read that they have come to make this decision at a time when they believe that, listen, this can affect their ability to influence what they see as the bigger royal game, and that is the motion of no confidence against President Jacob Zuma.